What's up? What's up? What is up? You know how we do it. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk. And today's episode, the title is Father Time. With Father's Day approaching, so many fathers ready to go out for brunch and get their tie or extra tool for the tool set. It's time to reflect upon Father Time. And Father Time, as we know it, is going to fit perfectly into this show. To open up today's topic, we decided to go outside of sports, business, and entertainment, and we found just the right recipe for this topic. What we're going to do is pull from an amazing book. We'll be sharing how to access the book, written by a father, shared by a son. And so here we go. The poem in this book is called Kids Come First. Pay particular attention to the words because as fathers, we are all dealing with this, let's call it dilemma. So here we go. Kids come first. My kids will come first, I said, as I welcomed my first child. My kids come first, as I joined another committee. My kids come first, as I was late coming home again. My kids come first, as I went to another event or affair. My kids come first, as I left the house with them crying after me. My kids come first, as they said, "Why do you have to go back out?" My kids come first, I said, as I pursued my career goals, as I watched the police lead my son off in handcuffs and couldn't understand my daughter's choice of boyfriends. I wondered what happened to them, as I always put my kids first. That poem, Kids Come First, comes from as an excerpt from an amazing book. We'll share more information about it from Walter Douglas Sr. With that, let's get started. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go, 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 go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know what it is. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Accepts the Celebration. Here for another week of the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your man. You know who he is. The Big Flow Show is in the building.
What's good, America? What's good? Coming to you. I'm coming to you remote today. Couldn't stay back at home in Chicago. Coming down here to see my baby girl try to win a national championship at AAU Nationals in Florida. I got on my good luck shirt.
What sport?
Volleyball. You got bump, set, spike, whatever they call it. You know, I'm trying to learn it. I don't know everything about the sport. It seems very simplistic, but the more I talk to people, the more I realize I have no idea what I'm seeing. I just think they're out there just smacking the ball around. But baby girl's out here. I got my good luck shirt on. This shirt was from when my son won the third grade national championship at AAU basketball.
You still fit it. That's good. You still fit the shirt.
You know, it's funny. I think I fit it again. I've been losing a little weight, but we'll talk about that some other time. I fit it again. I was nervous. I'll be honest. When I was putting it on, I was like, come on, man. Who it fit? I'm straight. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's, I think, a perfect setting, a perfect location. You are making what I would call the perfect demonstration of why we're doing this show, Father Time. As a dad, you were in Florida, about to embark on probably a long weekend of games in a sport you know very little about. But that's what Father Time is about, the commitment, the dedication. We're going to hop on into why we call today's show Father Time. And there's no better place to start because, you know, it's sports, business, and entertainment. There's no better place to start for this particular episode, Father Time, than you know who was the Rookie of the Year. Lamelo Ball. Because the Lamelo Ball victory lap also includes somebody in lane 2. LaMelo Ball winning Rookie of the Year. He's taking the victory lap in lane 1. But right next to him in lane 2 is somebody else by the name of LeVar Ball taking the victory lap with him. He's just as loud, just as proud, and he is telling the whole world in today's episode of Father Time, I told you so. And he's asking us rhetorically, who's your daddy? Is LeVar Ball really the father of the year when he gets Rookie of the Year through his son?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not even a fan, but yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Coming from you, because y'all all get upset that I get so into this LaMelo Ball thing. But I'll tell you, that high yellow fella, man, that high yellow fella can play some basketball, man.
Well, you're right. You're right. At the end of the day, say what you want to say about LeVar Ball. He put 3 in the NBA. One of them didn't quite make it so well. One of them Rookie of the Year. Now he balling. That was the one, you know, you start off with your first one, your second one, whatever. You get to the last one, you got the formula. His formula worked out. I'll give it to him.
Perfectly. His formula worked perfectly. And I would say that the book is not closed. In this episode of Father Time, the Father of the Year by way of Rookie of the Year award, LeVar Ball himself, the book is not closed on Jello because LeVar Ball is going to really get the last laugh. He really going to look at y'all on this Father Time episode and say, who's your daddy? When Jello Ball somehow, some way, it's probably going to be through the G League opportunity, but when he finally makes an NBA roster, it's going to be the nail in the coffin of all the haters that hated on LeVar Ball. At the end of the day, as a dad, say again.
He never actually made a roster.
He was with the Detroit Pistons. He was on the roster for a little
cups of coffee, right?
He got a few cups of coffee, and he might have got 1 or 2 paychecks from them, and sort of off-season workout paycheck. But I think when he's actually on the court and playing in an NBA game, LeVar Ball it's going to be a CNN breaking news. It's going to be like the president has interrupted all telecasts that are. He's going to be like, I told y'all so. All 3 of my boys. But let's start there.
Never lost.
Yeah, he must have never played since he never lost. I ain't never lost one-on-one.
Hey. You can't lose if you don't play.
Can't lose if you don't play. But let's start with that demonstration because LeVar Ball has been, let's say, critiqued. He's been analyzed and overanalyzed. People saying that he did too much. You know, Daddy Ball. It took a whole new meaning because LeVar Ball and how he was so hands-on when it came to his kids. How he was so hands-on when it came to their brand, their reputation, how people treated them, how people covered them. He always took the bullet for his kids. And most of us, myself included, because I took umbrage with some of the things that he did. We looked at it negatively. But let's look at it from the other side. Glass half full. Let's take the positive aspects of that because his hands-on approach worked. And so should more dads. For example, one of my fraternity brothers was asking me, as someone that's played college football, his son is at a good prep program playing football, and he asked, like, should I be sending stuff to coaches on Twitter, and how proactive should I be in making sure we build this profile? And I told him, man, just chill. The play will speak for itself. The coaches will come find him. Coaches don't like the bugaboo dad that's always sending stuff in the DM, that's always tweeting something and adding all of these coaches and publications. We look upon that in the college football, the purest sense of college football, we look upon that negatively. But I got to say, on this episode of Father Time, maybe I'm wrong because LeVar Ball showed us that being proactive can have benefits. What say you?
I say you're wrong. Specifically in my situation, I would send out videos of my son catching balls on the jugs machine, working out some stuff. Sometimes he looking swole, doing some different pictures to coaches.
Yep.
And a lot of them ignored you, right? Because a lot of them couldn't respond back anyway. But this is a true story. My son went to the park and he was catching some footballs and he had some doing one-on-ones or whatever with some people. There's some college kids there. He had a real good day, had a nice little catch where he caught the ball behind his back and did like a little somersault thing that somebody made a video of. I sent that out to the coaches. When he got an offer to Northwestern, I asked the coach, I said, I guess I wasn't getting on your nerves with the video. And he said to me, to be honest with you, the video was the final straw to make me offer him. So if they don't like you, they're probably annoyed by it. They may not respond to it. There's dead periods they can't come and communicate with you. But
right.
At the same time, who cares? I know some guys right now that are on Facebook or on Twitter every day retweeting their stuff, their kids' stuff, and it looks obnoxious. It bothers everybody. But at the end of the day,
it bothers me. It
bothers you. Everybody knows who they are. Everybody knows who they are. They know who they are. So it's like, if the kid can play, nobody's going to hold it against them that their dad did that. But if the kid can't play, he couldn't play anyway.
I'll say this because I'm one of the dads that takes the other side of the extreme pendulum of how active you want to be in your kid's profile.
Right.
You don't see in the videos of my kids. And I had to look upon it because sometimes you really got to analyze what you've done. So I had to look back because I get annoyed when I ain't calling nobody out. Do what you do. And like, for example, the example that you just gave, it worked. So who am I? But when it comes to these youth sports, when these dads every single week are showing me the workout of some 9-year-old and they're showing me the highlights. Now, you've heard me talk about my son. Anybody that's seen my son play in person will attest. Both of them I've been gifted with some amazing abilities, but you don't see me making any videos. You've heard me talk about it, but you don't see me, showing the workouts. I'll send a picture of us after a workout because that's dad time, but I find it like, I think it taints the workout when it feels as though I'm using it for some ulterior motive because I'm making it about me, more about the kid. But I got to be honest, when I look at some of these stories and I see some of the Instagram profiles of a 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid with thousands and thousands of followers, and I see some of the publications now ranking those same kids, I might be, maybe I'm out of date. Maybe I'm old school and it's too old school. Maybe as a dad, father time does require you to be an active part of getting that profile out there. Making sure that people see the workouts and the videos. And I again, on this episode, I admit I might be wrong because.
Well, no. What you're saying and what I was saying is two different things. I agree with you wholeheartedly on a younger child, right? He's 9 years old. Who knows what it is? You're putting undue pressure on these kids. The kid may not grow. He may not pan out. He's got 1 million YouTube followers because he can cross everybody up at 9 years old. He doesn't get any bigger or he doesn't get any faster or stronger, and now he's trash when he's 14.
Undue pressure.
Undue pressure. Yeah. And now he's got a drug problem. You know what I mean? I think that situation. But in LeVar Ball's defense, I believe Lamelo was like a freshman or sophomore at least when he started to put all his names out there, right?
He was a freshman. I mean, by the time Lamelo came around, they were looked at as a bunch. They were the Ball brothers. Lamelo Ball
done something. Right, they had actually done something. I mean,
his freshman year, I think, is when he scored 99 points.
Yeah,
crazy in high
crazy
school.
like that. Yeah, so it's already pretty foreseeable that he was going to do something. Maybe not NBA, but he could have been a college player. You know what I mean? So I think that's the right time. But I think 9 years old, 10 years old, it's crazy. I'm on a Facebook group with some people that do college, national, high school, youth football, and they were talking about, this is the best 6U running back in the nation. Tell me I'm wrong.
6U. Well, that's a great opportunity because I do see. First of all, and I should have said this in the beginning, like we ask you every week, humbly, please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe in the podcast world. The Ball Hawk Sports Talk is in the building. But I see an amazing comment by Coach Patrick Thomas. What's up, Coach? And he says he sees both sides as a coach and a parent, but then he goes on to ask, Coach, did you see a 10-year-old that got an offer from the U? I don't know if that's more of a referendum on the U that you are now offering a 10-year-old kid, or the state of affairs when it comes to youth sports. Because the U used to be, an offer from the U was priceless, right? Like they invented the swag, the whole camouflage. So I didn't think that a 10-year-old could get it. You and I have talked about it, freshmen in high school, and we don't need to call anybody's name, but going to these camps, you're getting offers not from some recruiting guru, but from the head coach on the spot. And it used to be a lot harder to get these offers. Let's deal with that question. A 10-year-old getting an offer from the U, have we gone too far? Simply put, have we gone too far?
I'll start off with the high school things. Times have changed, right? So the offer is not what it used to be, right? It used to be you got to offer, when I got I don't know when you got your offer to Notre Dame. I got my offer to Notre Dame on my official visit after my season was over in December of my senior year.
Very similar. Yep.
It wasn't like I knew I was going in there. I thought they were going to offer me, but I didn't know they were. Right. But on all my official visits, that's when I got my offer from the school. Now it's just the game's different, so you got to go earlier. They got to get in early on guys and get them to do it. So that's different. The 10-year-old offer is just ceremonial. It's just trying to get some publicity for the school and try to say something. But it's horrible for the kid. There's nothing positive.
I think it creates this weird cycle of now encouraging other dads to put their kid. I'm seeing 10-year-old kids doing tire flips and sleds up the hill, and I get it, man, because the cost of college is going up exponentially. I get it because if you didn't necessarily make it and you felt like you were this close, but you just missed out on it, you want to make sure your kids don't miss out on it. But I feel like it's creating a very ugly cycle that at the end of it, the kid is the victim. And I say victim on purpose because I don't think a 10-year-old body should be going through some of these workouts. I don't think a 10-year-old mind can deal with the letdown if indeed the offer doesn't come from Nick Saban and the dad or, the coach has put all his eggs in this basket and told this kid, you're the next coming. And I've taken the exact opposite. You don't see any videos of my son. I'm not putting them up. And that's not to say that it's a whole bunch of work going on over here. I have not decided on a single sport because at the end of the day, I want both my sons to develop all of their muscles and be well-rounded. We're playing basketball. We're running track. We're playing football. We're not deciding so early. But I got to admit, when I hear of examples of a 10-year-old getting an offer from the U, when I see some of these social media profiles of a 12-year-old with millions of a million followers, I got to admit that I'm starting to think that I might be outdated and I'm leaving room to maybe change my mind on how I approach this.
And I will say this. I mean, the seriousness of how we take sports in this country seems like a lot from the parent standpoint, but there's international soccer academies that people are going to at very young ages. And like some of these other countries, like the Dominican, they got these kids pulling them out very young ages and putting them in baseball academies, tennis. These guys, IMG Academy was created for tennis, right? Before it got into football, whatever. And people are doing a lot of stuff. We just don't see it. It doesn't come out. But the stories, but also you don't see the negative stories either. So you don't find out about the people that have burned out and all the different problems.
Which is going to be far more percentage-wise.
We just celebrate the stories about, man, Tiger Woods went on TV when his dad was 3 years old and he was a thing and whatever. When he was 3 years old, his dad brought him on TV showing how to hit a ball. Everybody needs to beat this kid to death. He's going to become Tiger Woods. But for every Tiger Woods, there's 15 Todd Marinoviches. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
for those of you who don't know who Todd Marinovich is, he became a drug addict and life spiraled out of control because the golden ticket, which was his throwing arm, it didn't pay off. And so I agree with you. And you look at it with the gymnastics as an example. Gymnastics is you get your success at an early age. But look at all the young ladies that don't pan out, that have issues with their body physically, but more important and more prevalent is the issues that they're having mentally. We're going to get to the Naomi Osaka mental health awareness story, which is a big story in sports this week. But I think that putting too much emphasis, too much pressure on these kids is setting them up for failure. And so we'll see. We shall see. But in this, I started off this particular episode, Father Time, talking about or sharing an excerpt, this poem of, it used to be the dilemma was, as a dad pursuing your career, how to make sure that you allocated sufficient time as a parent while also pursuing your career. Now, it seems like in sports, the dilemma is, how do I make sure I maintain a relationship that is a father and child while also making sure I train my kid and give them the best opportunity in sports? It's a fine line, but I see it played out on social media all the time. It seems as though a lot of these parents are looking at their kid as a meal ticket, as a scholarship offer, and not as their child. And we only have so much time to really harness the relationship that is father and child, or parent and child. But now that Father's Day is coming up, let's talk that from a father's perspective. You see more dads doing it than you do moms, although there are moms guilty of it too. And so I say that as a cautionary tale for all parents in this sports thing. You only have so much time. Your 8-year-old is going to be 8 years old once. And an 8-year-old and how they look at their parent is a unique relationship that once it's gone, it's gone. I'll give you last word before we move on.
I think, you hit it on the head when you said fine line, right? Because, we want involved fathers. We want them to be there. You want to be around. People talk about daddy ball. They talk about this, talk about living vicariously through your kids. But at the end of the day, being involved in your kid's life is a good thing. In the back, if you just peel it back, I'd rather have you be over involved in your kid's life than under involved. But there is a fine line when you get to the point where you're making things happen for your kid, and not letting them grow up and not letting them fail, not letting them do it. We're all guilty of it to some extent, that try to be involved in the kid's life. But, if you look backwards, you were there, you were involved, you were in their corner. When they get older, hopefully they'll be a better dad because of it. So I think, or mother, depending on the daughter, whoever you're dealing with, right. Because you were there. So I think there's some stuff that goes goofy. I think the pressure with these kids rankings young is way bad for the kids. But in general, the overall encompassing thing, we're spending time with the kids, we're focusing on these kids, and we're investing in these kids. And if you get lucky, you might get a Lamelo out of it.
Lamelo, I think your statement is an embodiment of LeVar Ball, because whether you say it was thumbs up or thumbs down, you cannot deny that he was absolutely there. And that's why on today's episode, Father Time, when it has been made official that LaMelo Ball was Rookie of the Year, you got LeVar Ball saying, "Who's your daddy?" I think it allows us to transition perfectly into the NBA playoffs. Let's at least do a quick update. You got, unfortunately, Denver got swept. They up out of there, 4-0. The biggest story in that whole series was the fight that wasn't a fight at the end. I like Joker. Basically, he fouled the guard and didn't. What, to me, it wasn't a big deal.
You know why it wasn't a big deal? Did you see how big his brother was? They might, if he was a WWF wrestler, his name would be the big deal, because they had two security guards. He must be rough. If you watch the video, he ready to fight. It's two security guards already posted up in front of him waiting. Like, does he cause problems?
Yeah, I feel like they knew, right? They knew that the brothers was about that.
About that life.
They about that life, man. They were huge.
Oh, that was hilarious.
But Cameron Payne just pretended like he was dying. He got grazed on the nose. In real time, you thought it was a really, really bad foul. And then once they slowed it down, I was like, that wasn't that bad. So that was the biggest story in that series. I like that Joker went out fighting, almost literally. But they were without Jamal Murray, they just didn't have enough. In the other series, you have Brooklyn tied now with Milwaukee. That's at 3-3. Somehow the Clippers were able to scratch back without Kawhi Leonard, and they're up 3-2. And then you got Atlanta doing the unthinkable, coming back from 1,000,000 points down, and now they're up on Philadelphia, and Doc Rivers is in the hot seat yet again. There's two storylines that I think embody all of the NBA playoffs, all right? Because the coaches on the hot seat, both Milwaukee and you got Philly, those coaches are being questioned. But the other big storyline is all the injuries. I talked about Jamal Murray not being available, and you look at all the injuries. Kawhi Leonard now, Kyrie Irving now, James Harden, it looks like a shell of himself. Now you got the Phoenix story where because CP3 has to undergo a COVID protocol, that's somebody that's not available. Simple and plain. Because on Father Time episode, when LeVar Ball's asking, who's your daddy? This week, LeBron James also basically said, who's your daddy, NBA? I told you that the condensed offseason was going to lead to injuries. Now look at all of these big names, high-profile names that aren't available in the playoffs. I told you so. Who's your daddy? Was he right? I saw the NBA did respond.
I'm a LeBron fan. I'm a LeBron fan to the point that I'm hoping that Brooklyn loses, and I'm hoping that the Cavs, that the Clippers lose. That's the kind of fan I am. But right now, I'm gonna tell them to go shut up and go fishing. Right? Shut up, man. Y'all lost in the first round. Y'all had different stuff. Don't come out. Like, just let the playoffs go. Catch a fish. Hang out with Bronny. Get his jumper right. You know what I mean? Don't come in here and start talking about the NBA. Y'all did this. This is why everything bad. See, I told. Shut up. Now the NBA did clap back and say that the injury rate is pretty much the same.
Yeah. They reply with a big old wonky, nerdy answer, but I don't know, man. I never, I don't shy away from hating on LeBron, because when he broke my heart and left my Miami Heat, I then became a part of the big chorus of LeBron haters. But I gotta go with him on this one. I think he's right, man. Like, you can't have a playoffs where on one team, the Brooklyn Nets were thought of as the big three. Now they're the big 1.25. And really, James Harden is not himself. Last night, that's hard to see James Harden passing up on so many shots. That's when you know something wrong with him. He passing up on shots.
It just seemed James Harden ain't found a shot. He don't like himself. He's
not himself. And now, you got Kyrie out with it. He might be right, man. It does not seem as though the NBA playoffs should be going on with so many injuries. Denver didn't have a chance because they were understaffed. Simple and plain. And even Utah now, right? It is what it is when it comes to these injuries. I think LeBron might be right. Well, I'll give you the last word.
I can't say that he's wrong. I just felt like he jumped at an opportunity. He jumped at the mic a little too quick. You know what I mean? Let somebody else come out and say that. But I hear him. You're right. I mean, AD, all these premier players are hurt or not playing. It's kind of weird though, because when you look at the Nets, they didn't play the whole season. So it's like, what are you so tired for? Half these guys didn't play half the season. What you so tired for?
What you tired for?
They ain't playing. So I don't know. It's too bad. But I'm a hater, and I would like to see Milwaukee win, and I'd like to see Clippers lose. So if there's a hater hat anybody wants to send in, I'll take out wear it on the show.
I will give a mention to one of the comments. Anthony Edwards might not have won Rookie of the Year, but he is on fire. I like that Anthony Edwards retweeted one of the Rookie of the Year, one of the people who thought he should have won Rookie of the Year. Anthony Edwards, look. Yeah, if you ain't cheering for yourself, he thought he should have won Rookie of the Year too. So shout out to Anthony Edwards. I do like his game. He did ball out. And that's going to be maybe the next generation of Goliath. That's the next generation of the LeBron versus KD barbershop argument. Maybe that next generation is going to be LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. It's good. It's fun to watch. Both have great highlights this year. And I think they're setting up to be great players in the NBA. Let's talk about some of the other snubs, though, because that's the Rookie of the Year conversation. We also had all NBA teams come out. And one particular snub, Jason Tatum, cost him $33 million. He was way too cool about it. $33 million. He had an incentive in his contract that said if he made any of the all NBA teams, he would get $33 million. And so in this episode of Father Time, I think that Father Time, in terms of antiquated, outdated, like my opinion of how fathers should present their athletes, their young athletes in the social media space. I'm also a dinosaur. I think a dinosaur and antiquated process is how we come up with all NBA. It shouldn't be position basketball, because Jason Tatum took the wrong end of the voting process and missed out on $33 million because we're still voting based on positions. There are no positions in the NBA anymore. Everyone that was snubbed, it was because of the positions, right? Because you had some of the players qualified for two positions, and the number of votes that you got, if you got more votes as a center versus a forward, for example, then you would then get the consideration for center. But the position basketball and voting that way is outdated.
Yeah,
what position does Joker play?
I was just about to say that. The Joker's not a center. I mean, come on. He's not a center. Hey, first of all, I want to say my deepest condolences out to Tatum. I mean, $33 million, that's the death of the family. I feel sick for you right now that you lost out on that money.
A moment of silence for that man's bread.
For bread.
We gotta go a moment of silence for that man's bank account.
Conspiracy, though. You feel like these people find some way to make sure you keep them off that list. And look, I don't care what y'all do. Knock us out the playoffs, whatever you do, not let this man be on the All-NBA team. We owe him too much bread for that. But all seriousness, though, you're seeing a trend in other lists. Now, not maybe in the All-NBA or NFL, the pro list, but I've seen it like in lower level, like high school lists. First team shouldn't be limited to just 5, Like I'll see like a team.
I don't know. There's only 5 people on the court at a time.
But I've been seeing other lists. Again, the NBA is not going to copy, younger sports, but like they'll have like 5 first team all-state wide receivers and 3 first team all-state running backs and 3 first team all-state quarterbacks. Because they're kind of like, you know what? We're not going to fill out the roster of 11 because we realize it's just 3 goons in these positions. And I'm okay with that because
so you think the NBA can overcome it by saying that first team all NBA can go beyond just 5 people?
Yeah.
That's because Donovan Mitchell also had a similar clause where he lost out on money. And I see a question by someone in the comments, and I think it's a great question because it relates to what I was about to say. Seeing an all NBA first, second, and third team and not having James Harden on there at all and Kevin Durant on there at all, Kyrie's the only one that made it. And maybe because the question asked about load management, maybe it's because they didn't play enough games, right? Theirs was injury, not necessarily load management, but maybe they played enough. But how do you have 3 teams of all NBA and the best player in the NBA right now, I would say it's Kevin Durant. He ain't on there.
Half the season. He only played half the games.
That hasn't stopped him from being the best player in the NBA.
No, that's allowed him to be the best player in the NBA because he only played half the games. And now he's fresh. He's mid-season form right now in the middle of the playoffs, killing. 37 games you miss.
Well, we'll see. I think they got to.
Should there be a game minimum to get into the playoffs? Should there be a game minimum so everybody has an equal playing field? You have to play at least 80% of the games, or whatever percent of the games you play in the regular season. That's how many percent of the games you can play in the playoffs. You can't just be rested. Huh?
There's a mention here, and look, Kevin Durant did not play the entire season. He did not play in the bubble last year, so maybe that's why he's being so productive. But then, to me, that means again LeBron's tweet. Who's your daddy, NBA? He was right. He was right. The body needs rest. That's why when all of these coaches and football gurus who weren't even starters on their high school team, when y'all reach out to me and tell me that my son needs to be playing year-round football on a national schedule, I say, bah humbug. You don't know what you're talking about. The body needs rest. The body needs rest. And the NBA doesn't have nearly as much contact as the NFL. But still, the body needs rest. And LeBron might have been right. It hurts me, it pains me to admit that LeBron, as a certified, self-identified LeBron hater after he left my Miami Heat, it pains me to say, but LeBron might be right.
Love him for that. He went down to Miami, gave y'all some championships, and got out of town.
Don't leave. I don't care. That's like saying after 20 years of a great marriage, after your wife or significant other just get up and leave, that you should be happy. No, I'm still not. I'm gonna hate on you. You don't come just leave me like that. We supposed to win He told us
Mine was never Miami's wife. It was Miami's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Y'all vacation.
You ain't about nothing. You hating on my squad. But to see from my squad, Jimmy Butler on there just smiling and cheesing as third team All NBA. Jimmy Butler, you don't deserve to be on there, man. We got to go positionless.
Position and to Tatum and give and split some money. I don't know. Jimmy Butler did that because Jimmy Butler. I want to take a step down and I want to take my spot and I'm gonna give it to Tatum. And Tatum give me $10 million. That $30 million would be straight.
Yeah, somebody need to pay him something because Jason Tatum should have been on there. And, look, the way that they vote the first and second, we talked about it with Coach of the Year last week, right? That whole voting system is just all messed up. But not only do they take the points that you get from first place votes or all of first team votes, second team votes, right? Not only do they take that voting process that I think should be outlawed, but they also add positions to it. And it's overcomplicated it. It's going to create a whole bunch of more snubs. We'll figure out how to get to the bottom of it. I would be remiss if I didn't at least talk about what has been a coaching carousel this week. It's been a very interesting, especially because I've been watching my man Doc Rivers. And the LA Clippers, their success is also sort of this whole, you look at Doc Rivers, be like, hey man, why weren't you able to pull it off? But now Doc Rivers up by 1 million points at home. Somehow, some way loses to Atlanta. Doc Rivers is on the hot seat, but he still is employed. Although people are saying that if he loses this, he might not be. One and done. But then you have Stan Van Gundy. You got there are a lot of coaches that are not coaching today that had NBA head coaching jobs early in the week. Is the coaching carousel a byproduct of NBA franchises are in this microwave society? They want success right now.
I think in general, we react to a lot of stuff and it's quick and it's like a quick smack. Something, whatever you just did. KD has one performance. It's great. Nobody wants to take into account the fact he only played half a season in the last 2 seasons. He's fresh. He's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest in the NBA. They lose the next game. Boom. Doc Rivers, I don't know. Doc Rivers is a little tough, though. As they say, he's had 3 series where he had 3-1 lead and lost. So I don't know if that's microwave. The question I have, though, is the power switch, right? Now, who's your daddy, right? Back to you, who's your daddy? Luka, they say, Carlisle resigned after 13 years, the third most.
Resign, you got to be like, resign.
They say that's what's the boy says. Some people, they part ways, mutually part ways. Brothers get fired. White dudes part ways.
Part ways.
That's for the next show. But I had to ask this question. I didn't know Luka had beef with him. And Luka was like blowing him off and giving him body language, like brushing off his calls and saying whatever.
But what does that say? That also says something. You talk about the brothers get fired and the others part ways, but how do we not know that until now that Luka and Carlisle have beef?
Luka's a sunshine boy. Everybody wanted him to be the next beef.
Every black player, and I'm going to say this and we're going to move on because I don't want this to be the center of our discussion, but every black player that has just a hint of an issue with a coach. LeBron, when he was playing in Miami, the good years, the golden years of his career, the most amazing years of his career, when he was down there playing for my Miami Heat, I know you feel the same way. When he just gently brushed Eric Spoelstra on the side of his shoulder during a timeout, it was blown up about their beef. Now, Luka and Carlisle going to war with one another and won't even hear about it. How does that happen?
I mean, it's crazy. I couldn't believe when I was reading it. I was like, man, no one's ever said anything. All they show is Luka smiling. He's the next everything. They love him. They're keeping that on the low. Someone had to put it out there because it was part of the story. But, I mean, you talk about Mark Cuban. He's only had 2 coaches in the franchise history, in his franchise ownership.
In his tenure, yep.
In his tenure, he's only had 2 coaches. So he's a real loyal guy. But now Luka said, who's your daddy? Get rid of him. I like this other dude. So
they got rid of him quick. When there was a question whether or not Luka was coming back based on that relationship, Mark Cuban made this is Ball Hog Sports Talk. With sports business and entertainment collide.
So Uber's 2 minutes away.
He made a business decision. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here.
Uber said 3 minutes, and I don't want the Uber to cancel me. So hurry up, get your ass outside. We'll send you your stuff.
Look. thinking of this whole concept of beef, I would be remiss if I didn't at least touch on the beef that is the highlight of the WNBA week. Skylar Diggins versus Jasmine Jones. Jasmine Jones did not like the fact, I think Jasmine Jones plays for the Liberty. She did not like the fact that there was a highlight shared by some publication of Skylar Diggins making a move and scoring on her teammate. So Jasmine Jones, under this highlight, says something to the effect of, yeah, but y'all still took that L. Why y'all focused on the wrong thing? Skylar Diggins sees it and says something like, girl, STFU, because there might be some kids watching, which stands for shut the F up. And because this is what people do all the time. They share highlights. Jasmine Jones says, when someone says, girl, STFU, shut the F up, them fighting words, so what's really up? So I introduced to you the beef of the WNBA. They're going to be like, who's your daddy? Who's your mama? Who's whatever? But they about to go at it. And it seems as though if they ever play each other again, and I think it's 2 months between the games or something like that, they don't play for a whole long time. I don't want to say this, but I got to say this because Skylar Diggins is a beautiful girl. So it's set up as the beauty versus the beast. Jasmine Jones is pretty too, so I ain't going to call her the beast. That's low. They're two beautiful women. Beautiful women. But at the same time, the WNBA, I think if you can somehow capture this beef and make it a normal part of what we see during the WNBA season, I know you'd have an extra fan. You already got a fan to me, but maybe you can get Big Flo to watch too.
It make you kind of want to watch. I mean, I watched the highlights. She hit her with the fake hezzy, that little Kobe baseline type thing, come back. I thought that was a pretty nice shot. I would put it on the highlight too. But first of all, she has to realize Skylar may be beautiful, but she from South Bend. So
west side of South Bend. Yeah. She west side.
Yeah, so I mean, you might want to be careful with all that talk about fighting. She might mess around, whoop your ass. But I do think it's good for basketball. The WNBA, we talk about it. We've been talking. Somehow WNBA has been more in the news this year than any other year. We've been talking about it. I'm this close to watching the game. I'm this close.
Hey, I'm a fan. Anytime I see a WNBA game, I say and I watch. But I do think that in order to get the casual basketball fan, I watch it from a pure standpoint. I'm teaching my sons, like, look, that's a good pass. They make good basketball decisions. But to get the casual fan that's there for entertainment, that only watches the NBA in playoff time, you got to make it more exciting. So come on, Skylar Diggins. Shout out to South Bend. She's from the west side of South Bend. Shout out to South Bend. People hear me. I went to Notre Dame. South Bend ain't no soft place, man. I met some
It's not all golden domes and shamrocks.
No, it ain't, man. You go to the other side. Shout out to South Bend, Indiana. I also have to talk on this particular episode, Father Time, about a particular story. Somehow, some way, Vince Woolfolk's son, because Vince Woolfolk has been reporting that the different pieces of jewelry have been missing. A bowl ring and an AFC championship ring, and never in a million years did we think that his own son was the one stealing it. A Patriots fan dimed him out, set it up, and let Vince Woolfolk know that there's a thief among you, brother. There's a Judas in your house, man. It's your own son. And how dare he have the revelation on the week leading up to Father's Day, Sunday. What would you do, man, if you found out your own son stealing from you, man? To me, I think I don't care how old you are. I'm taking out the belt, you're getting a whooping. Because his son's a grown man, but that ain't no grown behavior.
It's heartbreaking. I'm sure it's heartbreaking for him. You know, I don't want to read too far into it, but his son goes by a hyphenated last name. So it sounds like they may not have always been real tight. You know what I mean? He has Woolfolk in it, but there's another last name too, which I don't know. Maybe that's some new thing these kids are doing nowadays. But that sounds like I was raised with my mama.
Generation Z. What is that?
I don't know. They just got back with a daddy. I don't know. My son's last name is my last name.
Right.
So anyway, so that's weird. It's heartbreaking to have to do it. He did lose the stuff, and he wanted to file insurance claims on the loss or whatever. I think what happened was it was stolen. He got told, someone said that they saw it online for sale, and he said, "Hey man, Vince, you know your stuff is online." We're like, what's up? And he's like, "Shit, I didn't know it was gone." He said he thought he had it in storage.
Messed up, man. He's stealing it.
He sold her
Could you imagine?
62,000.
Could you imagine the OJ scene? Because OJ basically went to go steal his stolen stuff back. You go in the room, about to whoop whoever got your stuff, and it's your son.
His son had already stole it to a dude who was selling it again. So that's the problem. But yeah, it's heartbreaking. I feel bad, man. I hope they can
Yeah,
rectify
man.
that stuff.
Hopefully they could patch that up on Father's Day. And any big plans on Father's Day? Because I know your Father's Day gift to you is to be down there and watch your daughter play
But
volleyball.
you know what is also great is that my father is on his way up to see me, and I haven't been with my dad on Father's Day, and I can't even remember being with my dad probably since I've been a father. I haven't seen my dad on Father's Day, so this is going to be a nice experience. If I
Enjoy
can
it, my man. Enjoy it. As college football alum, I'll call us. I was about to say old dudes that used to play college football, but that would make my knee start hurting when I say old. So let's call ourselves college football alum. We got to talk about all of the drama in college football this week. We'll start with the scandal that is University of Michigan, because I love when there's some scandal at University of Michigan. Can't stand y'all. The whole excessive celebration thing started in Ann Arbor when we got robbed, but I digress. But there is a scandal brewing in Michigan. Allegedly, there have been players that were sexually assaulted. And they're saying that these particular players are saying that the University of Michigan didn't do enough when the abuse was reported. Sexual abuse. Now, we heard about the other school in Michigan, Michigan State, and the doctor sexually abusing gymnasts. But in this case, these are football players that have been sexually abused, allegedly, by a doctor. And apparently, Bo Schembechler knew about it and didn't do anything about it. So let's deal with it from two angles, right? The sexual abuse part kind of scratch your head. But we saw what everyone did, the Joe Pa. They basically killed the man with all of the stress in the last few years. It ruined his legacy. They took down the statue. Is Bo Schembechler's legacy now and forever ruined because of his affiliation and inactivity when it comes to the abuse that was reported to him?
You know what? Sexual abuse is a horrible thing to take, and I won't take seriously, whether it's perpetrated against a man, a woman, child, an adult, or whatever. So I don't want to poke fun and make jokes or anything about that. But I do want to say, how long Bo been dead? Let alone how long is this? I think he stopped coaching when I got to college. I'm 48 years old. What they just coming up now with some stuff about with Bo? Man, I don't know. I have a hard time to say this takes his legacy. He's not even here to defend himself, and it was so long ago.
What we saw recently with the Me Too movement. There is really there might be a statute of limitations when it comes to what you can pursue from a criminal standpoint. But when it comes to the court of public opinion, there is no statute of limitations. And so is Bo's legacy forever ruined? Because if you didn't do anything when these players reported being sexually abused, which I don't want to minimize it either, but I'm like, I wish a trainer would. The whole premise of football is based on mano a mano, physical warfare. I wish you would violate me. As we say in football, I move a man against his will. I wish you would violate me. So it makes you scratch your head. But indeed, if it happened, it happened, it happened. And if it was reported to Bo Schembechler, maybe he took the same approach and didn't take it serious enough. And how does that not taint his legacy when Joe Pa's legacy was ruined? And I would say killed the man in his final years.
Joe Pa's different, right? You're abusing children. I'm not okay. Again, anybody out there has been sexually assaulted, don't take my words the wrong way. But when you talk about children, that's deplorable. It needs to be, looked at to the finest extent of law. When you think about college football players, I think most people's first reaction would be, how the hell do you sexually assault an offensive lineman as a man? Like, what did you do? Like, what's going on? So back in the 80s, especially that, I mean, you're talking before steroids were banned, before concussion, there was no concussion protocol. We were still barbarians back then. I think you could still face mask people, poke them in the eye. You could horse collar back then. Things was crazy. So I think he was in the times, first of all, did the people actually come forward at the time and tell him? what do they say to him? What this dude assaulted me? I don't know. Times were different. I hate Michigan, so don't get me wrong if we want to dog Michigan. But just this man has passed away. His legacy is tough. I just have a hard time understanding exactly what's going on with him. But shame on whoever was doing all that craziness.
Yeah, I hate Michigan too. So, and I give that disclaimer before I say what I'm going to say next, but because maybe I'm biased. But if Bo knew, and that's what seems to have come out this week, that it's undeniable that Bo knew, then I can't add levels to the victims. Meaning, I won't say Joe Pa's inability to stand up and protect those kids is worse than Bo Schembechler's inability to stand up and protect those older kids, or even call them young adults, because on the other end of it, they're both victims. Now, you would think as an adult you want to protect the kids. It's just natural. It's innate. On this episode, Father's Time, there's a natural paternalistic instinct to protect kids. I get that. I really do. But as a coach, and when I say kids, I'm thinking young kids, because the whole Sandusky thing was he victimized young kids. When you got to 11 years old, you were too old for Sandusky or something crazy like that. Yes. But as a coach, I think as a college coach, you're looking at all those young men as your kids. It should be a paternalistic feeling to protect all of the young men that are within your care. That's what you go in the living room and tell the mothers, I'm going to treat them like my own son. And so to me, I can't say one is worse than the other. I think if indeed Bo knew, then his legacy should be forever tainted as well.
How do we prove he do?
I mean, it's easier to prove with Sandusky and Joe Pa because the evolution of technology, emails and stuff like that. But it seems as though there's several accounts by people, and unless they just lying, that suggests Bo knew.
I'm gonna do my own research. And I'm gonna find out. I'll come back to you when I find out. Call a couple people who know some people, who heard some people.
Know some people. The other scandal in college football, to me, was less about the victims involved, but nonetheless has been scattered across the headlines. My man, I love me some Herm Edwards. My man Herm Edwards is under fire. It seems as though there was a whistleblower. There was probably a Judas amongst him too. Who's your daddy? Boy, you can't trust nobody in this Father's Time episode. But somebody went and told that Herm Edwards and the folk at Arizona State were violating the modified recruiting rules. They were modified under the COVID umbrella. And they just had all type of people in the room and this, that, and the other. They were violating all the COVID restrictions. And so Herm Edwards is under fire. And if you're going to win at Arizona State, let me just go out on a limb and say this. That ain't the only recruiting rule that you need to violate if you're going to win at Arizona State. But Herm Edwards might be in trouble, man. What do you say before we move on to the last topic so we can get out of it?
I mean, I feel bad for Herm. A lot of people, going through the recruiting process. I know people who were legally recruited by Arizona State, and they've had nothing but great things to say about him. They like his staff so much. But I hate to hear about it. Sounds like the violations were having people on campus during COVID. He was lonely. It was COVID, bored. He wasn't doing nothing. So he's trying to show these kids a good time. They had nothing to do. So I don't know. He wasn't like he was paying nobody any money or anything like that. So I don't know.
I wouldn't even call this a scandal. Like I said last week, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. How you gonna win Arizona State if you ain't cheating, man? Go ahead and get them players. Herm, do what you need to do. We saw this week there's this whole shift because we know that the NCAA has basically punted on whether or not players should be paid and treated like professionals, and they found this scapegoat, this side door entry, and they've called it name, image, and likeness. But in this week, we've seen just how powerful athletes can be. Just how powerful athletes can be. My man Cristiano, who decided to say, Cristiano Ronaldo especially said, hey, I don't want the Coke. Give me water. And because he was caught saying that, the overall market value of Coca-Cola has dropped exponentially in the last several days. Since the moment he said, get that Coke out of here, give me water. It has gone down, I think, $5 billion with a B dollars. So if there was ever a question about the impact and the value of a player and his profile, now he's the most famous athlete in the world. But let's call it what it is. Just by shunning a Coke and bringing in water, the market value of that stock has gone down $5 billion. That's amazing.
Sue. Hey, how much, if you're a Coca-Cola, how much money would you pay him for an endorsement deal right now? He basically just showed you. Give me $1 billion.
You wouldn't believe it though. On the other side, as a consumer, you're not gonna believe that. If you hear him do a Coke commercial right now, you're gonna roll your eyes. The man in real time in a hot mic said, "Get that Coke out of here. Give me water."
To call him Dr. Pepper, one of them. Somebody, Sprite, Tab.
Right.
Mr. Pibb,
or
somebody.
Somebody needs to, a water company, come up with a new water company. But somebody needs to take advantage of what I could say is undeniably a $5 billion value in terms of his impact over several days. That's amazing to see how much the stock has gone down. So are we that stupid as investors and as fans? Like, who cares if maybe he just didn't want to Coke right there?
Yes. And that Pogba, he moved the beer because he's a Muslim. He didn't want the beer on there with him. The Heineken, he probably didn't lose as much, huh?
I'm assuming Heineken then, because we all drink to, well, I ain't gonna say all of us, but some of us drink to deal with our daily issues. But yeah, and shout out to him for being that principled that he didn't want the beer behind him. But we're seeing just how valuable these players are. Paul Pogba is who you're talking about, the devout Muslim. He moved to Heineken from behind him. They do the product placement, and he had the Heineken behind him. He didn't want the Heineken behind him. But it's interesting to see just how influential these athletes are, how much value they add as a brand ambassador or someone who is not an ambassador. And that's what happened with Coke. He basically said, I am not endorsing that product. Give me water. And $5 billion later, the Coke stock has now settled.
And they go sue the crap. Coco go sue the hell out of FIFA or whoever the soccer organization was, because they
how you let that happen.
Man, you better glue them bottles down next time.
Yeah, something. Let me end here because we talked about the principles of Pogba, but the principles of Naomi Osaka. She is now withdrawn from Wimbledon to address her mental health. And I want to end here just because I think it's a good transition as we look at these athletes as more than just athletes. What do you think about Naomi Osaka's decision? She said she wanted to address the family issues that she's having and the mental health issues that she's having. What did you think about it before we get out of here for the day?
I like Naomi. I'm liking her more and more just because she's her own woman. She's doing what she needs to do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of pressure in sports, a lot of pressure when you get paid a lot of money to play a game. And she's cool being fined. She's cool with not showing up. She's cool with passing up on a legacy by competing to win Wimbledon. She decides she wants to go play in the Olympics. She wants to do her own thing. I love it, because too many people become slaves to the money and they just start saying, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. She's like, nah, I got to do whatever I want to do.
Right on. All right, the Big Flow Show. Thank you for all your contributions this week. We're going to get out of here with a poem again from the Atticus Fables, written by Walter Douglas Sr. Happy Father's Days to all the fathers out there. Enjoy the tie, enjoy the extra screwdriver or whatever you're going to get, the extra pair of socks, the boxes. But most importantly, enjoy the amazing, beautiful responsibility of being a father. Let's end with this poem. I'll read it and then we'll get out of here. Please make sure you check out the book, The Atticus Fables, written by Walter Douglas Sr. We'll have him on as a guest at some point. And I will end with this. This poem from the book, The Atticus Fables. The poem is, I never learned to soar. I never learned to soar. So busy being grounded I never learned to soar? Or was it just a fear of heights and new wonders to explore? Was I being too cautious, not wanting to take the risk of seeking new adventures by daring to be adventurous? I never learned to soar. I was always grounded like planks upon a floor. Like planks upon a floor, is this the role I am to play? The good and solid gent? Should I just accept my role and therein be content? Though at times I wonder, has my youth been woefully misspent? Would my life be better if I dared to experiment? Alas, I often wonder if I stayed too close to shore. Ah, but it's not too late for me. I still have time to soar. I leave with that poem because as fathers, pursuing careers, trying to help our kids navigate the world of sports, business, and entertainment, remember that role of fatherhood is precious, and we never run out of time to soar. This has been the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration. This episode, Father Time, is leading us up to Father's Day. Again, I say happy Father's Day to each and every one of you. We'll see you next week.